Welcome back, everyone, to the A.D.D show, where we're not always right, but we're never wrong. As always, I'm Mark.
And I'm Hans, and welcome back, everybody. This week, we are recording from Nate's house across the bridge. He is in our League of Extraordinary Legends League.
Yep, we just did the live draft.
Yep.
So
had everybody over, had a good time. So, Mark, what's up?
Well, everybody over but Chandler. And Danny, but Danny has an excuse. He lives in Florida. So, but other than that, everything went well. I don't like the way the app says my team did. I actually like my team.
You say that every year, but then you end up losing, so it's fine.
But we're going to get right into it. Nate's got some powerful things he wants to talk about with everybody going on. So, Nate, why don't you step in here to give you the headphones?
Ooh, I feel special.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Make sure you lean into the mic so we can hear you.
Feels special. I get the headphones this time.
Your back's gonna end up hurting.
Really good.
Yeah, you're good, man. Go ahead. What you got?
So, all these drafts and all of these fantasy people keep talking about Dak Prescott, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we all know. I don't hate Dak Prescott. I want people to understand that I don't hate Dak Prescott. I hate the Cowboys. I don't hate Dak Prescott. One thing that I do hate is how much he's overhyped. One of the things that bugs the absolute crap out of me is people talk about him like, oh, well, he puts up these stats, he does this, he does that. But there's another quarterback in the NFL who does the exact same thing but doesn't get nearly the love that Dak Prescott does.
Okay.
And I don't understand why.
Probably being part of Dallas. Probably has a lot to do with it.
Oh, well, I would agree. I think that being part of Dallas has a huge part to do with that. I mean, you have the star on your helmet. You're one of the golden boys,
It's kind of annoying.
Yeah, well, I can imagine that it is for you, but for me, it's even more annoying being a DC fan. But I think that Dak Prescott is just an overvalued Kirk Cousins.
I mean,
what are your thoughts?
I mean, I would probably say because their stats are very similar. They are. I think the difference, the stats, well, let's not say stats on the field. I would say more of the stats probably on what is their winning percentage against winning teams, winning percentage in general, Monday Night Football, Sunday Night Football, prime time. Like, are we talking passing yards and those kind of numbers? Because passing yard numbers are probably the same, if not equal. I'd probably say on the ground they're not.
Well, that's where Dak Prescott is an overvalued Kirk Cousins, in my opinion, is Dak Prescott does more on the ground than Kirk Cousins does.
Yeah.
And I think anybody who watches football could understand that.
Yeah.
But Kirk Cousins still gets it done through the air.
Mm-hmm.
More than most quarterbacks, to be honest with you. Kirk Cousins finishes regularly, if you're talking about fantasy, finishes regularly as a top 10, 12 quarterback.
Let me ask you this. Would it be that Dak Prescott is an overvalued Kirk Cousins, or is Kirk Cousins an undervalued quarterback?
I think I'm going to stick with my original statement.
The reason I ask is because I know Kirk Cousins is a good quarterback. I always call him a professional quarterback, and that's not a knock at quarterbacks. It's that he always does the job he needs to do. But I think one of the problems is just like you would know, being a DC fan, is that when the camera's on him, he seems to disappear at times. Whereas when the games are 1 o'clock on the West Coast and you don't watch him, is when he puts up the 400-yard games.
Keep going. That's just disappears in big games. That's the same thing Dak does.
Okay, but what I'm asking is that what he does? Because when you watch him on primetime TV, he's not there.
Okay, but if Dak's playing, where's Dak in the big games?
300 yards in the air, 2-3 touchdowns, just like Kirk Cousins.
Still loses.
But he loses.
Okay,
Kirk Cousins wins.
What's their winning percentage? What's his winning percentage overall in his career? I don't have it. I didn't know the question before we came in.
Playoff wins, I believe Kirk Cousins has 2 or 3 playoff wins.
He has 2.
Okay, Dak has 2.
No, he doesn't.
1 and 2 is his record. How old is Kirk Cousins, and how long has he been playing?
He's been in the league since 2012, so I'll give you that.
Yeah, so he's been in the league longer. 53, 54, and 2. So he's under 500 for his career. So he doesn't have the same wins as Dak. Dak has a 600 winning percentage, I think, a little over 500.
Yeah, but I think QB winning percentage is something that we shouldn't talk about here.
Yeah.
Because I think that QB wins is one of the most overrated stats in football, because Tom Brady has more wins than most quarterbacks, but Tom Brady hasn't always put up the numbers that other quarterbacks have. Philip Rivers had much better numbers than Tom Brady numerous years, but Tom Brady still got the win. So my whole thing here is that Dak isn't overvalued Kirk Cousins in the sense that Dak Prescott isn't going to win you the game, but he's going to put up numbers.
Okay.
And that's exactly what Kirk Cousins does. But if you look at their game-winning drives, very comparable. I mean, you're talking about two quarterbacks who do the same thing. When they win against bad teams and they lose against good teams. I mean, here we are. We're debating Dak again a year later from where we were debating Dak again the first time. And I'm still going to stick by my point that Carson Wentz is still a better leader than Dak Prescott. And I think that honestly is going to show this year in Indianapolis. I'm hoping that it does, because Carson Wentz did what he had to do with less than Dak Prescott. I do think Dak Prescott's a good quarterback. I'm not going to say that he's not. I've said before that he is, and I'm going to say again that he is. I just think that we're overvaluing Dak Prescott in the sense that we're like, oh, he's going to run for this, he's going to do this, he's going to throw. He threw for 400 plus yards every game. He was on pace for 6,000 yards. I think people are overvaluing what he was doing last year, and I think that's his rushing touchdowns last year. They were outrageous before he got injured.
I think a lot of his numbers last year is exactly what I told Mark in the last podcast, was that a lot of his numbers are inflated because they had no absolute defense last year. That's not the Dak Prescott that I base my Dak Prescott off of. I base it off of the guy the year before who played all 16 games, which is practically a little bit above average quarterback. I mean, I've been the one here to say it, that I think Dak
isn't a top 15 quarterback.
Yeah.
All day. He's a top 12 quarterback.
Yeah.
I just think that, in my opinion, Dak ran more last year than he had to because he was trying to win a game.
Mm-hmm. Well, because the defense, we were down by 3 scores before halftime. To be honest with you,
Dak showed me a lot last year. As somebody who's a Washington football team fan, Dak showed me a lot last year because he was trying to win football games when he was in football games. I still don't think that Dak is the quarterback that you lean on to win football games, but Dak is the kind of quarterback who's going to try. He's going to give it everything he has every single time he's out there.
I would agree with that. And what I think is, I don't think Dak has to be that quarterback. I think it's helpful to be the guy that gets you the win. But if it's kind of unfortunate to say, but if you can get everyone else on the same page doing their job, then you can have, like, a quarterback like Kirk Cousins can win a Super Bowl. But it's not going to be because of him. And I think if Dallas wins a Super Bowl, like I've said, I don't think it's going to be because of Dak. I think it's going to be because of the supporting cast around him, but they'll say it's because of him. It's something I said when we first started the podcast. If any team wins, it's because of their quarterback. But if Dallas wins, it's because of Zeke. It's because of the O-line. It's because of Cooper. It's never because of Dak. And I think that's true. I think it will be everyone else, because I don't think Dak is going to say, guys, my Super Bowl. Sit on the bench. I got this. I mean, I don't think he does that.
In my opinion, if you guys made it to the Super Bowl and won the Super Bowl, right? Dak could throw for 350 yards and 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, and be the Super Bowl MVP. I don't think he's still going to be the reason you got there.
I don't either. I'm 100%. I agree with you. I've said that.
I think that he could be somebody like a Joe Flacco, who was the Super Bowl MVP, who was somebody who, when the playoffs came on, was a different person. I mean, Eli Manning. I hate Eli Manning. I hate the Manning family. I hate everything about them. If you've listened to the podcast, you know this by now. When it comes to Eli Manning, I think he is one of the most garbage quarterbacks that's ever won a Super Bowl.
His stats will say that. Yeah, he's pretty bad.
But when it came to the playoffs, that dude was lights out.
Yeah.
I mean, he put the team on his back. That throw to Mario Manningham alone is the greatest throw I've ever seen in football history.
One of the other things I noticed, too, was with...
Dropped right in there. Dropped right in there.
Yeah, it was like a basket.
Yeah, it was like, it was good throw.
It was like, where do you want it? I want it right in my hands as I'm running out of bounds, and it hit exactly in his hand.
I think the hard part is for me, I don't like the 2 Super Bowl runs that we had. The first one we won the first game, lost the second. The second year that we went, we lost the first game in the wild card. I think the hard part is I almost just want to see one more time, because in those playoff losses, the best player on the field was our quarterback. The worst player on the field in both of those losses was Zeke Elliott. And it almost makes me wonder, it's like, obviously you need every player to do their job. Not everybody is Tom Brady in a way where like he can just get things done with very little help. Like he needs help, obviously, but somehow he finds a way to get it done because he's a different breed. That's why I put him on another level. But I think with me, one of the issues is with Dak is I want to see Dak get a chance in the playoffs with, I like Mike McCarthy, what he's doing now, but with the health team, at least moderately healthy, the defense moderately better than they are, and see if he has the opportunity to turn it on. Is he a playoff guy like Eli, or is he going to be a regular season Eli? Like, even if Dak's whole career ends up like an Eli Manning, I'm not mad about that. The numbers aren't what I want it to be, but I'd love to take 2 Super Bowls, even if Dak's not the MVP.
Dude, I'm a Washington football team fan. I would sell my soul for another Super Bowl.
That's the
thing.
thing.
We talked about it today.
Yeah.
The fans at home don't understand this, but we talked about quarterbacks today who won a Super Bowl who shouldn't have won a Super Bowl.
Yep.
And as a DC fan, I mean, Doug Williams was horrible as a starting quarterback for years and years and years.
Yeah.
And Doug Williams came in, won a Super Bowl, had a great year afterwards, almost got us back to the Super Bowl. Mark Rippon won a Super Bowl.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's pretty bad.
Let's be real.
Yeah.
Joe Theismann was the only legitimate quarterback we've ever had win a Super Bowl, and
I thought you were going to say
the only reason he didn't win 2 was because Lawrence Taylor decided to break his leg. Yeah. I say decided, but he didn't decide to break his leg. It just happened. But
I think for me, you're getting a call. It's vibrating in the thing. Mine's really sensitive. I think for me is I understand where Dak ranks in the league, and I think this year I've been a lot lower on him. I think in the podcast you can see that as I've come down to earth on him, just because when I started the podcast I was a super Dallas fan, right? And now that I'm doing the podcast, I'm still a Dallas fan obviously, but I'm starting to watch other teams and starting to realize like, wow, I've slept on this guy. Like I'm starting to realize that instead of coming into the first podcast saying Dak's a top 5 quarterback, I'd put him around 9, 10, 12, somewhere in there. And I think that's appropriate, but I don't think I need him to be an Aaron Rodgers. I don't think we need him to be a Tom Brady, but we don't need him to be a backup quarterback. He needs to get the job done, and when it comes to fourth quarter drives or it comes to this, he needs to make sure he's not the reason we're losing games. But I also think those years with Garrett's incompetent. He can't get the Giants moving on offense as a coordinator. He also wasted years of Murray. He wasted years of Witten, wasted years of Dez and Romo, including multiple defensive players. And I'm not saying McCarthy's the answer yet, but I will say that hopefully this is a different direction where we have a coach that can utilize the talent that he has.
I have a question for everybody in the room that I would love to hear their response. Okay? We got 2 people playing Madden, one sitting down and one sitting down.
So 2 sitting down.
Yes. I want to know, like you just said something that kind of irks me. Yep. You said we wasted their years.
Yes.
Okay. How can you say you wasted their years when every year you guys were 8-8, 8-8, 10-6, 8-8, 8-8? How do you know he didn't maximize their potential?
That's a
How
good
do
point.
you know that this is not what they were capable of? And everybody's saying you say this all the time, like we wasted their years, that we got 3 Redskin fans and 2 Cowboy fans here. So I want to know, and like I've said,
the football team.
I get where you're coming from. But I also feel like the coaching plays a major role in that.
Hold up, Nate's gonna go.
So to piggyback kind of on what Justin was saying, I think that as a Washington fan, watching Tony Romo was something that was different to me because I actually enjoyed watching Tony Romo play because he was someone who, very much like Kurt Warner, in my opinion, could make something out of nothing. He was in the pocket. He wasn't a mobile quarterback, but would spin around and all of a sudden just, bam, there he is. You find the open wide receiver that no one saw, and he found him.
The pocket.
And exactly, he could climb the pocket. He was willing to find Dez. He was willing to find Jason Witten. And I think that there's no reason why that team that lost the playoff game to the Packers wasn't a Super Bowl team. no reason at all why.
It was an absolutely phenomenal team.
That team was DeMarco Murray was at his absolute peak. Des Bryant was at his absolute peak.
Romo was healthy for the first time ever.
Peak.
Yeah,
I mean it was a team that was poised to be there, but I think their coaching let them down.
So what I want to say is I want to piggyback off what both of you said, and I think maybe saying wasted years is the wrong term. I think it would be more like coaches let them down. And for me, I don't just watch my running back. I don't just watch my quarterback. I don't just watch my defense. As someone who also played football, I watch the fundamentals on the hike. And I'm like, why are we running this play? Why are you on 4th and 10 fake punting on the 20-yard line? It's decision-making that is not coming from the quarterback's helmet because the quarterback's not on the field. It's, for me, you can't tell me that I understand there's quarterbacks that call these plays and defensive players make these plays, but it's still coming from the coach making decisions that end up getting the quarterback sacked by 10 yards, and the quarterback looks up and goes, what are we going to do? That was your play. My point is, and I'm not saying Jason Garrett was the reason these players failed, but in multiple occasions you're like, what are they doing? Why do they get to the playoffs and they just tank, but all the players have decent numbers, but something goes wrong every year? It's almost like everything has to, first off, we all in this room know that everything has to be perfect to win one playoff game. You can't fuck up at all. It has to be perfect. But again, there's more than 53 players on the field.
I don't agree with that.
It has to.
No.
Your defense has to play at the...
I don't agree with that. Kansas City proved that the championship season.
They played perfect all the way up until they lost. Oh, you're talking about last year in their Super Bowl?
Their Super Bowl season. They were losing every single game in that playoffs.
But they came back perfect and won.
But so they didn't play perfect.
To win, they had to, Mark.
They didn't play perfect. They played like ass for a whole
So maybe
I think the correct statement is you have to play perfect for a certain amount of time
to win the game. Maybe not all 60 minutes, Mark. My apologies. He's taking it literally.
Because when they were down 28,
I took it how you said it. Like I'm not taking it literally. I took it how you said it. You said you have to play perfect to win a playoff game, and that is not true. Brady's proven it. Mahomes proves it. Manning
Trent
has
Dilfer.
proven it. Huh?
Trent Dilfer.
Okay, you're not winning a Super Bowl with your quarterback with 100 yards and 3 interceptions. Not happening.
They did it with Trent Dilfer. That's my point.
Did he have 3 interceptions and 100 yards?
Probably.
It was probably like that.
Honest with you.
Okay, so maybe
Rex Grossman made a Super Bowl.
What I'm saying is if you have that difference maker, okay, they overcome anything. And the leader of the team overcomes everything. And that's why I don't like Dak, because Dak is not a leader. Dak puts up stats, but when the time comes for it to happen, Dak doesn't lead.
Okay.
And the number one player on the team that has to be your leader is the quarterback.
And this is why I brought up this entire conversation, is because I was somebody who was a Kirk Cousins homer. I loved Kirk Cousins. I wanted the Washington football team to sign him to a long-term deal when he was only asking for $18 million.
Yeah.
I mean, could you imagine the last year of his deal being now?
Yeah.
We'd be a Super Bowl contender.
Yeah.
But he's not somebody who's going to take it on his own volition and win you a football game.
And the hardest part about that, there's a select few players that even has that ability in their genes to do that. It is a very rare thing to take over a game and you are the reason your team went that far.
Right, but to dive back in, I think that saying Carson Wentz is a bad quarterback or Carson Wentz isn't a leader, I mean, Carson Wentz has done that time and time again. Am I wrong? I mean, he led a team that had no business at all being in the playoffs to winning an NFC East title and almost beating Seattle.
Yeah. Well, I think
with his starting wide receiver being a quarterback in college.
And Greg Ward, yeah. I think the point to Mark was saying was like to be a leader, he doesn't see that in Dak. But at one point up until last year, he was second in the league in fourth quarter comebacks. Is that not a leader? I just want to know what he means by leader.
How is he second in the league in fourth quarter comebacks when he had a 1-4 record?
He was almost 500 in fourth quarter comebacks. He had like 6 wins. That was literally by Google.
Up until last year?
Up until last year when he got hurt. Maybe with the Falcons game.
Are you talking about just last year or his entire
career?
Okay.
Yeah, I was talking his entire
last year.
No. I meant to say his entire career. But the point. But before.
But again, how many of those game-winning drives were against quality teams?
So that's what makes you a leader, is you have to win
I'm
games.
Just saying quality teams.
I know, but my question to you was
what makes you a leader is you get your team to play above their head.
Okay.
You get every single player on the offense to play above their potential.
Okay, and how
he doesn't do that.
Okay, and I understand. Okay, so let's say that's the case. How many players and quarterbacks in the league have that ability besides 2 or 3? It is a rare talent to have this.
To be honest with you, I look at young players just like Herbert. I look at young players that command the huddle, command their players to pay attention, command their players not to lose focus and drop balls consistently, hold them accountable. That's what I'm saying. Nobody on Dallas holds anybody accountable. You sort of said it yourself on the car right here. I'm not coming out. F you. I'm not doing this. F you. They have no respect for anything. They just care about themselves.
But that's literally every Hard Knocks of every season, dude.
No,
yes, it is.
It's what I'm saying is there has to be that one voice. And there is
Why
not one
do they
voice.
pick the team to be on Hard Knocks, though?
It's the team who finishes last, usually.
And McCarthy is, to me, Aaron Rodgers proved. He goes, I didn't run his plays.
Yeah.
And we won. If I called his plays, we would have lost every game.
So
it's like, I don't understand. Like, McCarthy's not, like, to me, he's not a very good coach.
Okay.
And, you know, like, I agree. I think Quinn's a great defensive coach if he has the right pieces to run his defense.
So, because a player doesn't want to come out of practice and tells his coach, don't take my ass out, I ain't fucking coming out, that doesn't make him not a leader. That only makes him a leader. He wants to get back in there and lead his team because his team cares about him the most.
You can have a leader. You can have a leader mentality and not be a leader.
Yeah. Now, I understand that. But he's saying he's not a leader at all. I think he has the mentality to do it. He just hasn't done it.
I think Dak wants to be a leader. I don't think he has the capability to be a leader. Dak is somebody who's going to forfeit when given the opportunity to forfeit. I think he's shown that. His game-winning drives are against mediocre teams. He barely beat the Atlanta Falcons only because they didn't understand what an onside kick meant. Dak Prescott is not somebody who's going to get you to the promised land. And just like Kirk Cousins is not somebody who's going to get you to the promised land. I thought for years Kirk Cousins was going to be somebody who, if we signed him because of the stats that he put up, I thought for years. I bought a jersey. I have a Kirk Cousins jersey. I thought Kirk Cousins was going... I threw it away. Okay. But I thought that Kirk Cousins was going to be somebody who was going to lead us to a place where we could win, especially under Jay Gruden, who is an offensive mind. You have McCarthy now, who is an offensive mind, with Kellen Moore, who's an offensive mind, with Dak Prescott, and it's not working. There's something that's not.
Well, how about this?
No, you can say that it's working all that you want because they put up so many numbers, they put up so many yards, they did this and that last year.
Even in the podcast, I don't say that. I don't talk about last season.
They only did that. They only did that because of the situation that they were put in. I'm just simply saying Dak Prescott is not somebody who's going to lead you to where you want to be because he doesn't have that factor. He doesn't have it. And I think that if Carson Wentz had been drafted by Dallas, you guys would have a Super Bowl. That 13-3 team would 100% have won a Super Bowl.
With Jason Garrett, you think?
100%. And Jason Garrett would still be your coach.
I'm glad he's not our coach, though.
I wish he was.
I'm also glad.
I will say this. For me, I don't talk about last season with Dallas because, yes, it matters, obviously, because it was a bad season. But I think the hardest part is saying, well, McCarthy this, and, we don't know about Dan Quinn this and that. The reason I don't bring up last year is because essentially, and I know this is a bad way of looking at it, but I'm going to say it, is going into this season, this is essentially an altogether first season under McCarthy. By game 5, you lose your quarterback. By game 2, I know it's game 5, but by game 2, you have 14 players on IR. You're not playing well. So you bring in a better player, and you see if this is what it is.
But this is what DC has been through for how many years, and no one ever wanted to say these things about this team. How many years did we have 14-plus players on IR? How many years did the Chargers get close and then have 5 players on IR when they... 2007, when Phillip Rivers made it to the AFC Championship against Peyton Manning, the AFC divisional game, they played the Patriots. They had 4 players go down, 4 starters go down, and then he lost that game to Peyton Manning. That team was the best team he had ever had around him. That team should have won a Super Bowl. That team was a Super Bowl favorite going into it. They were 13-3, and no one talks about it because injuries don't matter. You can say injuries matter, but injuries don't matter. I'm tired of being the team that injuries have mattered on, and then all of a sudden they don't matter. So you can throw that out the window as far as I'm concerned.
But when you are a first-year head coach in a new team and all the players you're looking forward to coaching aren't there, it does make your job more difficult. Anybody in this room who has coached or will coach, if you go to coach and you're starting 5 or 6 key people you look forward to win aren't going to be there, it is not as easy to re-coach that because you're prepared for something different than when you came in. I guarantee you 100% Mike McCarthy was not coming in expecting the defense to give up 400 yards a game.
Then what's your backup plan?
Hopefully this year you win all year, and that's a bad excuse. But you can't.
But that's not a good coach.
How do we know that?
Because you made no adjustments. You accepted it.
You accepted the defeat.
The Bengals went 1-15 their first year and won 3 games the next year. Let us see what we do this year. This is year 2. You're in year 3.
Okay.
So you can't.
We're not talking about the Bengals. We're talking about 2 totally different skill sets and coaches.
But you can't say we didn't get better, Mark. You don't know that.
How do you know you got better? You got worse with the same team.
What do you mean in the offseason with all the additions we made? We got worse? You're assuming Nostradamus we got worse?
McCarthy's year. You can say how many skill players did you lose besides Dak?
Well, we lost multiple offensive linemen and multiple defensive linemen.
Okay.
Are you talking about skill players? Well, we had Cooper out for 7 games total.
But you made no adjustments.
Our tight end was injured.
You made nothing. So what you're saying is if we have no injuries, we're damn good, and McCarthy's going to lead us there. But if we have one injury or a couple injuries, we're screwed.
That's most teams in the league, Mark.
But that's never an excuse. That's never been able to be an excuse for Washington. Washington's just been a bad team.
Okay, but still, the point is injuries are still a thing. You can't say injuries aren't a thing.
Injuries are a thing, yes, but the Bengals lost their quarterback last year in Week 10.
Yeah.
And they won more games
without him than with him.
Because they made adjustments.
No, they didn't. They were 3-3 with him.
Yeah, they were. I thought they were 3-3
with him, and they won 2 games. They beat the Steelers and they beat somebody else. Okay. They won 5 games.
So we won 1 game with Dak and won 4 without him.
Just give up.
Okay, we won 1 game with Dak and won 4 without him. Is that adjustments? 5 without him? Did we make adjustments to keep winning?
Did you? You keep saying it was a
We
bad
won
team.
7 games.
How many? But you won 7 games. So you made
6.
Sorry, 6.
So you were better.
We were 1 game
him.
behind them.
So you were better without him.
Essentially, we made moves
but
to be better.
We had a tiebreaker because we beat your ass twice.
Yeah, for the first time.
So you were better without him. But now everybody's coming back, and the injuries aren't there, and
we're assuming they're going to be bad based off preseason. That's what I'm saying.
No,
we
I'm not
don't
assuming
know.
I'm assuming they're going to be bad because I'm a firm believer that the Dallas Cowboys are a team that everybody overvalues.
Okay.
I don't believe in Amari Cooper. I don't believe in Gallup. I think Zeke, just because he's coming back and he's got a stomach that's a 6-pack now, doesn't mean he's got hands.
So he had 1. But I'm saying you have a bad year fumbling with 4 fumbles, and then you're just overrated now?
Okay.
Chris Carson has fumbles every year.
You guys just shit on me for Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
Because he's dropping the ball in preseason. And you just said preseason don't matter.
It doesn't.
Okay, so
I was talking about Jamar practice. He's dropping more in practice than he is in the game.
Okay,
but you didn't. But you're.
I'll repeat what Allen Iverson said. We're talking about practice. It's not games.
I understand that.
Okay,
but in the games he drops it too.
Fumbles in games.
But he drops it in the games
Zeke
too.
Fumbles in games.
I understand that.
Okay.
But 3 fumbles last year.
And
4.
How many?
4. He didn't have 8. You have 2 hands up. Did he have 8
4.
fumbles? You have 2 hands.
4. Sorry.
So you have 2 hands up.
But that is, to me, that is just.
It can't happen. I know that.
Can't do that.
I know that. It can't happen.
It's just this is why I'm a firm believer that the Dallas team as a whole is overrated by everybody.
I understand.
And
that.
I feel that they are more a 500 team for the last how many years?
Been a while.
Right, like I think they're closer to a 500 team, and I think that's their talent. That's what I think. I just think because, again, and you've said it many times, because they have the star on their helmet, they're over publicized and they're overhyped.
Let me ask you this, Christian. Let me ask you this. What are your rankings for the NFC East?
Washington, Dallas, Giants, Eagles.
What are your projections for those teams?
11 and
6.
11 and 6, 10 and 7, 8 and what is it? 8 and 9 for the Giants, and I have the Eagles winning 4 games.
Saying that, isn't it?
It is. It's weird.
It's like saying
I have Washington having one more game ahead of Dallas.
So having one more game ahead of Dallas, being 11 and 6, and then you guys being 10 and 7, are you guys a playoff team?
I haven't done the other divisions, but I'm going to probably say at this point no.
Okay.
But I think it's an improvement based off of last year.
If you guys go 10 and 7, that's a massive improvement.
Especially with
If you
the
guys
young
go
talent.
10 and 7, you make the playoffs in the NFC.
It
I don't
depends
think
on what
so,
it depends on what
because
the
of the
West does,
West.
bud. That's what I'm saying.
I think that's
Because the
thing, though.
NFC North has 2 teams, and the NFC West has
But
4
again,
teams.
we're saying the West. Yeah. I think the West is all going to be in that 10-9 win season.
But if 2 of them have more wins than Dallas,
but I think they're all going to be 3-3 in the
but then
division.
you have Minnesota.
yeah.
Is Jameis going to pop off in New
New
Orleans?
Yeah.
Right. Well, but
Carolina maybe.
The NFC's a wild card this year,
but
completely.
Like the NFC West, I agree, is the best division in football. But the problem is top to bottom, they're the best team in football, and that's the problem.
Yeah.
They're going to go
Yeah.
3-3, 2-4. Like I don't think there's going to be more than one team with a winning record in that division, and I think 4-2 is what you're going to have, where everybody else could be 3-3, 2.
Who's your team, if you don't mind me asking?
San Fran.
I like that pick. I like that pick a lot.
San Fran to me, and I don't care who they start at quarterback.
It doesn't matter. That's the thing. It
They got a
doesn't
good
matter.
team.
Their defense is really good.
And for me, I don't believe until I see it. I want to see that stretch of the Kyler Murray. I want to see the Josh Allen take over. Until I see
I'm
that,
praying for it because I keep drafting him. So
to me, if that happens, they are, I think, the best team in that division.
yeah.
Oh, I can see
But
that.
I don't believe
shit.
in Kyler Murray. So I think they, again, finish last in that division because of him. Because I feel he loses you a couple games before.
I want to say one more thing about DC being with Dallas here, is how bad that division was last year. And honestly, even though we lost the division, it was closer than it appeared. And you guys
100%.
had, and honestly, if you think about how bad the Eagles were and Giants were and Dallas were, they all beat the absolute shit out of each other like they do every single year. Here's the problem, like I said in the last podcast. If the Giants do better, that's scary for the division. If Fitzpatrick's the answer, that's scary for the division. If Dallas's defense is better, that's a problem for the division.
If Jalen Hurts is competent,
That's scary.
That's scary.
Because he has 2 really good young weapons.
Scary
So the
for the
point I
division.
make
I
is
think the scarier scenario in the NFC East
the Giants.
is if Daniel Jones figures it out.
he won't.
He won't. No, he's a bum.
But the thing is now
Wet
he
booty.
doesn't have to figure it out as much as other things, though. Like, he has to figure it out to the point of
Kenny
20
Galladay's
times
a
thrown.
Band-Aid.
Yes.
So-
I like
Clayton?
kid from Florida.
Tony.
Yes.
Kadarius Toney.
Darius Tony.
The point I'm referring to is Dallas had a bad year. DC won the division. Essentially, still had a really bad year.
We had
I know
we
that.
had 4
I know.
quarterbacks start
You
for
had-
us and
yeah.
won a division.
Yeah, I think we had 4 as well, but you guys
I don't
won the
think
division.
people understand.
No. So the point is,
understand that we had 4 quarterbacks
is even though
start
we
for us
were
and won the division.
1 or 2 games behind, because I think we were tied with the Giants, but we were all 1 behind. I don't have it up right now, but either way, the whole division as a whole was down, even though the team won the division. Let's get rid of the fact that DC won the division. The division was very bad, and what it comes down to this year is if one of the too few teams make an improvement, it's going to be a different division. What I'm saying is it's not that far off to have Dallas win, who won 6 games last year, to win 9 with your quarterback healthy all year, or a better defensive line coaching, better secondary coaching. It doesn't take much. Fitzpatrick is a clear upgrade over anyone they had last year. Just Fitzpatrick alone can get you 10 wins, 11 wins. My point is by saying Dallas, yay, may be overrated, but with winning 6 games with all the injuries, and again, you guys have dealt with injuries. I've said it for years. They do matter. But if you can improve these, just like the Giants with their quarterback can improve them, you can win 8, 9, 10 games, which is still more games than half the league. I'm saying Dallas and DC aren't that far off from winning 10 games.
Let me just say,
But I don't think Dallas is a Super Bowl team, is what I keep trying to say, or a deep playoff run team. They're getting there, is my hope.
let me just say my parting words. Dak Prescott is an overrated Kirk Cousins. Thank you.
You're welcome, Nate. Thank you. Does anybody want to get on here with Mark? Who wants to get on with Mark?
Nobody wants that.
Who wants to get on with Mark? And Mark, make sure you lean in a little bit too.
Yeah. Nobody wants that. And you see, Nate's walking away because he's like, I'm scared. So
Nate dropped the mic. He's like, I'm out of here.
I'll debate any division with any of you guys, but I know you guys only know one division, so it's tough.
No, I mean, I will say we know multiple divisions. I mean, we pay attention to a lot of things. Who's winning back here?
It's close. Justin decided to fall down at the 1 yard line.
Oh, Justin.
I was trying to make
That was tough.
I was trying to make a leap and dive in the end zone.
I kind of want to see what happens here.
Oh, but
Mr. Bombastic.
I just think we're looking at it, and if anybody wants to talk and give me crap about the Bengals, and I can debate the Bengals with you guys if you want, I don't care.
Our coach has gotten better every year.
Can we go through everybody's draft teams?
Sure.
Like top team, like top 3 teams.
I don't believe in the computer's judgment of the teams. To be completely honest, I think Chandler's got a very good team.
Chandler's got a good team again. Let's see here. What we got?
My question is, how is mine ranked below Danny when he has 3 freaking wide receivers?
But I got actually,
Chan ranked with the running back.
Chandler's got weak running backs. Weak running backs.
Yeah. I got a question for everyone in the room. Being that Logan is part of the league here too. Are we still keeping 4 IR spots for like COVID related again this year, or do you want to go back down to 2?
I'm fine with 4.
I think we should.
Because it's still a thing. Players are still going to sit out whether we want it to happen or not.
Yeah.
Okay. Just want to make sure while I'm looking through teams. I'll start with mine just because I know we waited a while on the last one. I just want to get out of the way. Okay. I really like my team, and once again in this one I drafted Tom Brady again. But I have Zeke Elliott and Austin Eckler as my running backs, Lamb and Higgins as my wide receivers. But I also have in my wide receiver tight end, I have Waller and Andrews. I have 2 of the top 5 tight ends in the league. David Montgomery's a starter in Chicago. Eckler gets hell amounts of catches, and Elliott's the best running back in the south of the country practically. And my bench, I got the number 1 wide receiver in Houston and Brandon Cooks. DC's number 2. Phillip Lindsay is going to be the number 1 in Houston. Darnell Mooney is the number 2 in Chicago, and Gage is the number 2 in Atlanta. Mm-hmm. I have everybody's number 2 or 1 that nobody picked up in the late rounds. So again, like the last draft we were in, I picked up high upside guys. Not really a fan of my Bills defense pick, to be honest, but I really, really like what I did here, and I managed to get Tom Brady, who's again a really good fantasy quarterback. He's not overly great, he's not overly bad, but again, when I say he's an average fantasy quarterback, that does not mean he's not the greatest regular season quarterback. Yeah. Not out. I'm talking outside of fantasy in general, because I don't want to say he's average.
I think. Actually, I hate to say it because he's sitting right next to me. I think Justin's team's a problem.
Yeah.
I think Cook, Barkley, Ridley, Robinson, that's a solid core right there. I love his Deebo Samuel and Chenault on his bench. He has his handcuff there with Madison.
Yep.
Goddard, I would say, is very good. Kyler Murray's a stud at fantasy football.
I think the Edmonds pick is really interesting at flex, because I need to see Arizona actually use a running back.
I'd probably say if anything, you can put Deebo or Chenault there.
Absolutely,
and you'll have a better flex.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I like his team. Xander, who won last year.
Xander surprised me.
I honestly, his team is just very even.
Yep.
There's no he's got Derrick Henry and
CEH.
Kelsey were his keepers.
Yeah.
But then you've got Allen, Moore, Godwin at wide receivers. You've got CEH. You've got Dak, who, coincidentally, talking about Dak, and I don't know any fantasy league where Dak would drop to the 10th round.
Yeah.
That was absurd.
Every time he came to me, there was just another player I wanted more than my quarterback, because surprisingly, quarterbacks are deep in this league if you take a solid rookie backup that has the upside, like Lawrence.
He got Odell late.
Yep.
I don't particularly like his bench, but it's a high upside. It's like high upside. Like
I would say
if any of these guys pop off,
Ruggs is huge. Mike Williams, if he turns out to be the Mike Williams they drafted him to be, David Johnson, I like the pick for the first few weeks. I don't think he stays there as the starter. Higbee, wonderful backup tight end to have on your bench.
Yep.
Michael Carter, if he wins the job, huge. Mayfield, Dak's going to be out at least 1 week for a bye week.
Yeah.
The one thing I would say I'm not a huge fan of, and I haven't seen it, CEH. I don't mind CEH, but would we be all in agreement here that CEH shafted the most people in overhyped rookies ever?
He's like one of
Yes,
those players
he was-
that is like,
The people took him top 10 his rookie year,
you
and he
want him
finished
to be
30th.
great, and he's not.
Yeah, I mean, he did get hurt too.
Well,
So-
I know, but still, he only had like 2 or 3 weeks in the top 5 when he was
The
healthy.
thing that's so enticing about him is the team he's on.
He's on the Chiefs, exactly. But and again, he also has Kelsey on his team too. I like the Godwin pick, I like the Moore pick, and I love the Keenan Allen pick. His 3 wide receivers get hell amounts of catches, especially Keenan Allen averages 10 a game.
Yeah. Logan, you picked Tyler Boyd, right?
I did.
You picked him late or in the middle there. Again, Logan here, Allen, Chubb, Jones, Evans, Claypool,
Kittle,
Henry, Boyd. I like that squad. I don't like Claypool. I'm just not
I'm taking a chance on him. He was the best receiver available, and I needed another.
Also,
wide receiver.
we just entered these teams in. We just entered them in, so obviously rosters hasn't been adjusted. I'm 99% sure Hunter Henry won't be his starting tight end. He has Kittle at the wide receiver tight end. I'm assuming it'll probably be something like Devontae Smith there, which would make his lineup look a lot better because I don't like the Henry pick at all. But I understand trying to get a backup tight end is huge. I like Elijah Moore. I like Marshall. I like the rookies he drafted, man. All 3 of them have great upside because Elijah Moore, Terrence Marshall, and Devontae Smith. Devontae Smith has a chance to be a 1,000-yard wide receiver. I know that's nuts to say, but he is going to get so much volume, and he's extremely talented. The thing is, with the move for I always forget Gardner Minshew for Philly is Jalen Hurts the answer in Philly?
right.
We just don't know.
Yep. Looking at Nate's team again, we've got Kamara, Diggs as his keepers, J.K. Dobbins, T.J. McLaurin, Kyle Pitts, Brandon Ayuk, Russell Wilson. Good players. He's got an okay bench.
Whose team are we on, by the way? I'm sorry. Nate. Okay.
He's got an okay bench. It's pretty good. Then you've got, if we go to my team, I've got Herbert, Mixon, Carson, Hill, A.J. Brown, Jamar Chase, Gesicki, Gaskin. I got Kenyon Drake on the bench. I got Marquez Callaway on the bench, Burrow on the bench. Randall Cobb and Fursker, I think, are kind of sleepers where they could be. Cobb could be a PPR guy. And Fursker's a starting tight end in Tennessee. And Jonnu Smith comes from there, and he always had good seasons. And then I took a flyer late, in like the 10th round on Michael Thomas. I did put him on my IR right now because I can just open up that bench spot and have him on the IR. I think he's going to be huge when he comes back, and if I can stash him like that, I might as well. It's, the talent is there. I think I like the balance of my team. The one thing I don't like is I don't know if Gaskin's going to play a lot. I don't know if it's a 50-50 split. I don't know if he gets the most of it. And I think I'm weak at tight end. Gesicki, I think, is very good. I just don't know if Tua is going to be able to do this, that they believe in him.
And I like Furkser, whatever it is. I like him too, but again, I think with adding Julio now and the way the offense is built, I just think it's another mouth to feed, and they don't seem to want to target tight ends as often as I thought. Going into last year, Jonnu and those guys, but they really don't target them a whole lot. I like your team. I would say the Myles Gaskin pick is a weaker pick. I like the fact that your third wide receiver is Jamar Chase. I think that's a solid pickup there. My concern is that you have 2 really good running backs, but both have injury history. Now, we say injury history. Sorry, let me say that. Chris Carson has only missed 3 games. Chris Carson has only missed, 3-4 games in his entire career, but he's left the middle of games more often than not. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
He tends to go out with a banged up this, a banged up that. He's back next week with an injection. I want to know how many games he started and didn't finish versus he was actually out.
Okay.
Mixon and Carson if healthy. Tyreek Hill, Brown, great roster. Can't go wrong with that.
Then to round it out, we got Austin. He's got Aaron Rodgers, Swift, Taylor, Jones, Cooper, Hawkinson, and Smith. Irv Smith, who
And
I
Kareem
think is a
Hunt.
sleeper. I like Kareem Hunt as a flex.
Yeah, I do too.
He's gonna get those touches. And more often than not, it could be a pass, where he's gonna get those extra points.
Yep. I think for me, the problem with Alston's team is with DeAndre Swift and Jonathan Taylor. It's the same thing I had mentioned about Nate's in the last league, is that if they're starters, like we're talking majority of the start, I'm not talking Derrick Henry starting. I'm just saying Antonio Gibson level starters where they get that many carries, they're really good. But the camps out of both those teams is that the backups to them are getting just as many carries with the first team, and I hope that doesn't stay. With DeAndre Swift, it's Jamal Williams, and with Jonathan Taylor, it's Naheem Hines and the other guy, Mack.
Marlon Mack.
But all getting carries, and it's not like neither coach has come out saying, this is our dude. No one has said that out of those camps. So, but if they pay out, having Rodgers, having Julio, having Cooper, Landry, Hunt, like, this is great. There's a chance that even Hunt has more points per year than Taylor and Swift, even as a backup, because he is a backup.
Now, I do want to say Malik was here. Leak Sweets. He's the inventor of these cupcakes that are just heavenly.
Wow.
So we tried different flavors today than we've had before, and they are spot on. And word from Malik is he's looking into shipping. So please check out Leak Sweets and go on to the Facebook page. Reach out to him. He is up and coming, and he is flying right now. So look forward to seeing him do even more there. And for me, that's about it.
Anybody else want to say anything before we hop off? No?
All right.
All right, guys.
Thank you, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.
Everybody have a great weekend.